Last presentation of the day, so we'll just thank Nathan and our Securities Vault team for putting on today. We're really excited to present to you now Verity Resources and our Monument Gold project. We really do believe we've got the right asset in the right location, the Laverton Goldfield, at the right time, booming gold prices, and there's so much exploration upside. We're really excited. This could be a I won't say multi-million ouncer, but that's what we're thinking. So disclaimers. So this slide here, this map really sums it up. We're surrounded by multi-million ounce deposits. Right adjacent to Genesis there, the 3 million tonne per annum mill. I'll talk about them in a minute. We've got a 154,000 ounce resource. We've already got a strategy to upgrade that and also expand that resource. That's already in play. And there's so much upside. It's 195 square kilometres of potential strike, and it's 20 kilometres of strike, over 60 untested targets. The Michael Jackson, our chief geologist, is here. He's going to talk more on that too. So what sticks out on our capital structure? It's tightly held, but there's $2.5 million worth of in-the-money options at the moment. So if you're exercising, you're up 50% already based on the last close price. And that's potential cash flow that we can reinvest back into our Monument Gold project. All those logos on the right, the top five, that's all attributed to Nick Cox and Michael Jackson, Exeter Greys. They came with the Monument project when we acquired it back in 2021. So this really is their baby. And that's why I brought Michael here, because they see the potential in this to be a real company maker. This is my favourite slide. As you can see, well, I'll really pose a question to you. If you were Genesis right now, you've come out and said, we want ounces. We've just restarted our mill, our operations. We need to expand. We just took over the Laverton project from Focus Minerals for 250 million Aussie. I don't know who you'd be looking at next, but it'd probably be your next door neighbours. You can see that banded iron formation structure that runs straight through Australia into our resource, and there's another 20 kilometres of strike there. We haven't even scratched the surface, really. Again, Michael will talk to that. So our strategy is how we're going to make our shareholders money. A lot of shareholders here, so this is what you want to hear. We've already started our resource upgrade and expansion strategy. We've done a pit study, and that's given us the green light to expand and to upgrade to an indicator resource. So we're going to get that moving as fast as possible. We've done the preliminary MET studies as well, and we're getting the groundwork done for a mining licence. So we're really keen to keep this thing moving, generate some cash flow and put it back into our greenfield strategy, where there's, as I mentioned, a pipeline of drill targets. It's really, there's so much potential here that we're really excited. There's a few results coming in the next week or so for some air core targets that are potentially ounce adding, and then there's a whole bunch more targets. Again, we think there are just so many ounces here to be discovered. We're really excited. This just visually shows how we're going to create your value, where we're at and where we're going. We want to upgrade that resource and get an expanded resource in the next September quarter, get to a mining licence, and again, reinvest cash flow back into Monument. So I think I skipped the slide. Sorry, there's a slide missing. But maybe I'll hand you over to Michael now. He'll talk to you about the project in more detail.
Patrick, is there a pointer? Oh, there. Okay, thanks, Patrick. So within the Monument project already, there's 154,000 ounces global. So that was conducted on historic and drilling that we did in 2021. So of that, we have done some preliminary work in the upcoming slides. I'll go through that again. Some of those ounces do optimise, and it's very early days. The resources are inferred, so we can't do scoping studies. But the objective is, with the work that we're doing with ERM and IMO, is to convert at least 70% of those ounces into indicated, and that will enable us to carry on with our scoping studies later in the year. We're also looking at doing metallurgical testing with independent metallurgical operations in Perth. So they've already got a workflow sheet underway, And the work they're doing is on the BIF-hosted mineralisation at Coorong and Waihi, which is similar to the mineralisation that exists at Westralia down here. And the mill that was set up over at Jupiter was based on the test work that was done in Westralia in the early days. So this ore is the material that's likely or hopefully will come out of the deposits along the BIF stratigraphy will go straight into that mill there. Okay. All right. So just on a bit on the Coorong deposit, some of the drilling intersections pretty respectable. 7 at 13, 6 at 7, 6 at 3, and so on. So the work that we did earlier in the year with Cube Consulting, I'm not supposed to say this, but there is actually a pit, a rough pit optimisation shell that fits around the broader part of the Coorong mineralisation. And you can see out here it's pretty broad, it's pretty sporadically drilled. So we're looking at stepping out drilling and infilling a lot of these areas. There's also what we've identified is, if I can sort this, is these high-grade shoots. So the mineralisation plunges to the south, and there's a repeat of these high-grade shoots along the ore body. So a lot of these have not been tested at depth either. So there is a good growth story at Coorong that we'll test out later in the year when we go back and do some drilling. Okay, Waihi's a lot smaller deposit and a lot it's more potty, but the grades are a lot higher. So the resource at Waihi is 2 grams, whereas the resource at Coorong was only 1.4 grams. But again, there's a lot of growth potential at Waihi. It's very sporadically drilled, and we're looking at going back and doing some infill drilling to expand on these resources, and hopefully join up all these prospects. Just on the regional geology, so the major deposits in this area are intrusion related. Wallaby is a cyanite intrusive, Jupiter. So Wallaby 7 million ounces, Jupiter 1.5. There's other prospects, Cameron Well, Granny Smith's also an intrusion related deposit. So, our belief is that the mineralisation that hosts, the rock pack that hosts these intrusive deposits also trends into the monument parcel. So what we've done is we've looked at the geophysics and the regional geology, and we've actually lodged a couple of applications to pick up some extra ground out to the northeast here. Slide missing.
Maybe skip back.
Okay. The hell?
Can you talk us through it, Michael?
So there's an application out here. So this here is an application. So you see here there's this magnetic high, there's like 3 or 4 small dots. So we've actually interpreted that as an intrusive set of intrusives along a north-south structure. So the the hell? All right, so there's one of these here. So this is Jupiter, and these intrusive clusters occur on north-south structures, and we have identified one in this application over here. So I guess the point is there's a lot of, we call it the wild card or the X factor. So out to the northeast here, this banded geology has always been interpreted as being granite, and there's been no exploration. So the drilling that we just did at Starwell, which is in this tenement here was the first type of drilling that was ever done in this area out to the northeast here. So when we look at the rocks and the geology, they do trend down into the Laverton tectonic zone. But the thing is, historically, the pink being the granite, no one's ever done any work out here. So we've picked up a large tenement in this area. It's in application at the moment, but we're hoping later in the year it will be granted, and looking forward to getting stuck in once it's granted. This is just some of the regional prospects. So outside of Coorong and Waihi, there are other prospects at different stages of development. So Starwell was some air core drilling we recently did underneath some 6 gram rock chip samples. Triton, which is a repeat of the Coorong stratigraphy. So the geology interpretation is that the Coorong stratigraphy is folded back on itself, and the footwall sequence, because it's overturned and the way the rocks are sitting, it's not as well pronounced. It's not outcropping, but it's seen little to no exploration to date. So we've been in there and done some drilling as well. So that's Triton and Coorong West, and there's Starwell out to the northeast. Starwell out here. So Fred's Well, this is on the Coorong stratigraphy repetition out in the footwall. Some of the early drilling's been fairly significant. We do need to go back and do some more interpretation and some follow-up drilling, but the early drill intercepts are pretty encouraging. 24 at 3 and 12 at 6, including 12 at 6. Just a bit on the regional geology. All of the blue dots are other prospects at various stages. So a lot of work to be done, a lot of interpretation, and lots of drilling.
Thank you, Michael.
Just any questions? Yep.
Hi, good afternoon. I represent a fairly significant family office. I've got a couple of questions. Perhaps, Pat, you could answer them for me. There's 2 questions in particular. Firstly, your grounds surrounding Genesis and the recent corporate activity whereby they have acquired Focus Minerals assets in the area for $250 million in cash. Talk to me about that and what that means for yourselves, and specifically around the fact that their acquisition was a cash-only deal. Typically, in the space that we deal with, these acquisitions, there's a tiny upfront cash component and the rest is royalties. Talk to me why Genesis was so aggressive in the upfront cash component of this acquisition.
Well, it's no secret Genesis have come out and said, we want to add ounces, we want to expand. That's their strategy. They've got a mill, they've just restarted a whole operation there with 3 million tonnes per annum. So it was almost, I guess, a no-brainer to look at what's around them, for one, for cheap trucking and easy ore. Focus Minerals, 250 million cash. I guess what I can say is you can clearly, or most of you guys would already know, there's a clear disconnect between the gold price and the value of these junior companies. And big companies like Genesis see that. So 250 mil cash up front for 4 million ounces non-JORC. It seems like a good play for them, and a Focus, good cash flow to put back into their other assets. So being right next door and having that structure that runs through. We've got some ounces. We've got a plan to add ounces and prove up our resource. I think Genesis will be looking very closely at us, and whether it's cash or whatever else, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. But at the moment, our focus is on creating value ourselves without the hand of a bigger boy.
I mean, as an investor in the space, you're currently trading at $8 million market cap. Your neighbour just got acquired for 25, 30 times that in cash. Are you guys, what's the strategy around maximising the shareholder value here, given you've got a very, very, very big acquirer in the space?
Well, at the moment, our focus is on ourselves. We've got cash. We've got potentially $2.5 million in options and a divestment of our Botswana assets, which there was a slide which I didn't show up for some reason. But if you go on the ASX, you'll see a slide on our other projects. So we really want to prove ourselves. There's so much potential there. We don't want someone now to say, here's X million dollars, we'll take it off for you. We want to say, we've got a resource, we've got a big resource, we've got so much potential.
Would you take 100? I'd take 100 as an investor.
Oh, well, yeah. If it's 100 each per investor, maybe. Well, yeah, we don't want to speculate on what the value is at the moment. We want to prove it. At this point.
One further question, sorry to take up everyone's time. You guys didn't even talk about your rare earth asset in Brazil today. Rare earths have been at the forefront of investors' minds given the recent friction with Donald Trump, the US, China, the whole tariff deal falling apart about rare earths. In the Australian marketplace, as investors, as speculative investors, as we all are here in this room, there's a lot of money that has gone into rare earth stocks. You guys, your gold asset, kudos, is worth much more than your current market cap, in my opinion. But you've then got this secondary asset which has got insane head grade in rock chips of 25,000 ppm in TREO. Talk to me about that, because there are other peers on the ASX that are currently trading at a higher market cap than you are total, and this is your non-core asset. Talk to me about that.
Well, I think you said it all yourself, but
Buy.
yeah, that's right. Well, where do we start? To start at 8 million market cap. Yeah. But as a start, you're right, 8 million market cap for this gold project in itself, plus the rare earths. I had a slide on that, which again, it's on the ASX release. 22 kilometres of radiometric strike. We've confirmed it with a sampling program completed in March, April, up to 25,000 parts per million, 25% magnetics, the high value stuff. That's comparable with meteoric and VMM. It is a really good project on its own, and it could take a life of its own. We need to stay focused at the moment. But you're right, it is a fantastic project. It's got a similar signature to American Rare Earths, Allanite hosted Hello Creek project, and that's a 3 billion tonne rare earth project. I think their market cap's 200 plus million. So it's to call it a back pocket project is probably to undersell it. But we need to stay focused as well while we have the funding it's allocated towards Monument.
Thank you, Pat.